the Dallas Mavericks are the team that we finally have gotten to. This is going to end our NBA preview of the Western Conference, and we'll start with the East next episode, okay, of course. So we got to, of course, match up with the team that we face off in the finals here in Boston, the Dallas Mavericks. George, we obviously know they got Klay Thompson. How else do you feel about their offseason as a whole and what they're going to do in this upcoming season?
What I do like is they bring back a lot of the core that made it to the finals. They lost Derrick Jones Jr. He signed with the Clippers. But then you add a guy in Klay that is still 18 points a night and 39% from three.
Yep.
And playing off of Kyrie and the Luka with that veteran leadership. Like, he's not prime Klay, but he still is Klay. Like, he's not washed.
Yeah.
Like, he's just on the back nine. So I think they get something out of that. Bro, my biggest question mark is the same thing I said about the Pelicans. With the Mavericks, what are you going to get from your superstar? How motivated will Luka be this offseason? How motivated was he this offseason? What shape will he show up in? Not just in October, November, but is he going to have his legs under him and the durability? He plays hard. He shows up every single night. I love that about him. He wants a ball in his hands. He wants the lights to be bright. But is he going to be in the conditioning, in the shape when teams are throwing their toughest defenders at him? He has to get through a tough Minnesota team. He has to get through a Thunder team again with Luka Doncic, who was giving him issues matched up on him. Like Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, perfect build to slow down a Luka, who's so big and such a skilled ball handler and knows what to do when someone's on his hip. Like, that's when he's most lethal and will step back and shoot. So you're asking me, how do I feel about their offseason?
Yeah.
I can't answer that. I have to know what Luka did with his.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing I say with Zion. The opposite effect goes on with Luka. Every summer we get a video, a picture of Zion looking slim, strong, whatever, and we're like, oh, okay, here we go. Every offseason with Luka, they call him Luka Doncic, you know what I mean, for a reason, because it looks like he's been enjoying his offseason. Hookah Doncic.
Trust me, I know Hookah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it looks like he's enjoying his offseason. Looks like he's enjoying some good food out there in Europe and just chilling, not thinking about basketball. And he comes in at the beginning of the season usually, and he looks like he's tired. Like you said, because he's out of shape. So if Luka is locked in, like you said, this offseason could be a good one for them, considering that. That's all you really need, right? A locked-in Luka from jump to finish, you know what I mean? But my thing is, besides Klay, because that's really the question mark for me. I have no idea what we're going to get out of Klay Thompson, and I have no idea what we're going to get out of Jason Kidd, because there is going to be a point in this season when the Mavericks aren't going to play good basketball for a string of games, however long that may be. And Klay is going to be an integral reason why that is happening. He's going to get into shooting slumps, which he always has done. He's a streaky shooter, a really good shooter when he's on. But when he's off, it can be really, really tough nights. And he doesn't have the defense that kept him on the floor during those Warrior championship runs that they had anymore. He just doesn't have it with the Achilles injury that he had a couple of years ago. It's gone. So my thing is, are you going to be willing to sit him, Jason Kidd, when those problems happen? Because Steve Kerr did, and he took too long to do it because of the things that Klay did for that organization. But besides Klay, I like their Najee Marshall get. I like their Spencer Dinwiddie get, because he's familiar with that team and that offense and how to be around those guys, playing with Luka, playing with a talent like Kyrie. He's done that before. And then I also like them getting Quentin Grimes as well, because those are Najee Marshall, Quentin Grimes, two guys who are locked in on defense. And we know that Klay and Kyrie and Luka,
that's where you're going to get exposed.
They really just don't have it.
I wonder what Quentin Grimes we get. Because he was with the Pistons, bro. Like, I think it'll be refreshing, and I think we'll get that bump back to those New York Knicks Quentin Grimes, who can even, like, bro, if he's getting you 10 a night, like, that's a huge boost, along with what he brings defensively. And Spencer Dinwiddie, a long vet, can be a starter. That's 28 minutes a night, 12 points a game. Yeah. Najee Marshall boost too. They have to get better defensively, because they have to make up for their two best players being guys that just don't show up in that category.
Yep.
And then that goes back into it with Luka of, if you're in better shape, You can be a guy on the other end of the floor. You don't have to be the dude, but can you be a dude? And they need that from him. I did like those additions. I like that you brought it up, especially Spencer Dinwiddie. I mean, a vet, been in the league, familiar with Kyrie going back to their Brooklyn days.
Yep.
It is. It's how do you handle, if you're Jason Kidd, how do you handle a Klay Thompson? If you're Jason Kidd, how do you handle a Kyrie Irving too? He had a good year in Dallas. I think him being in the same building as God Sham God has helped him out immensely, because that's a guy that goes back to his hooping days, who's really tight with his dad. That's basically like family. And they got him to lock in and focus on basketball. Like, I'm not going to knock anyone for, you should be more than just a hooper. You should be more than just an athlete.
Yeah, 100%.
Be yourself off the floor. But, like, we know what Kyrie did and the misinformation he was spreading and just the bigoted stuff he was putting out there. And it's, dude, like, be smarter with your circle around you. Just be smarter in what you stand up for. And if you focus on basketball, you're one of the most talented in the world. That's what they got out of him. Can they get it again? Because it's been the Kyrie, reformed Kyrie, right? Getting back into the graces of everyone in the public eye, and everyone around the league absolutely loves him. There couldn't be enough praise about him. They go, why did everyone in Boston hate him? Like, it wasn't Kyrie's fault. It was Kyrie's fault. Stop showing up for the team, abandoned them. A young core was supposed to be a leader, calling out the vets on the roster. It was all Kyrie's fault. Can he not be that Kyrie again? I think that's huge for this Mavericks team too.
Yeah,
and this is in a Western Conference. It's getting better, Tay.
Yeah, like you said, it's important for Kyrie to focus on basketball right now, because there's one quote that I always thought about when I was playing basketball, and there's a lot of things that come with it, and there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it as well off the court, as no question about that. The thing is, keep the main thing the main thing.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So basketball is the reason that we know who Kyrie Irving is. Not saying that he's not a great human being outside of that, but his contribution to the world for most people is going to be what he did on the basketball court, unfortunately. You know what I'm saying? So he needs to focus on making sure that his team is in a position to win games, because his legacy matters. Because him being in a good light, he can spread the positive messages that he's trying to spread. You know what I mean? But that's only going to happen if you win games, honestly. You know what I'm saying? There's people out there who play basketball who are doing a lot of great things that I don't know anything about, because the main thing isn't that great. That's just the honest truth. For Kyrie, he needs to focus on hoop. Now, going back to Luka, right, like you said, he is the reason that all of this is happening, all of this is going on, all of the conversation, the finals, everything that happens in Dallas goes through Luka, right? We know that here we have Jason Tatum, and anytime Tatum even sneezes the wrong way, the media blows, oh my God, Jason Tatum sucks, blah, blah, blah. He's the reason the Celtics were never going to repeat, never going to win the championship, blah, 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 whatever. When do we get that for Luka? Because, trust me, I love Luka's game. He's one of the best offensive weapons we've ever seen in NBA history, right? But James Harden gets slack for playing the same style that Luka does. LeBron James, early on in his career, got the slack for playing the way that Luka plays, which is ball dominant, dribble, dribble, dribble. I'm only kicking it if I got a dime coming, and everybody has to figure it out around me, right?
Yeah.
Everyone else has gotten this slack. Luka Doncic has somehow evaded this convo. So when do we start having that conversation, George?
I mean, he's been to the playoffs 4 times, and just once in his career, he's averaged less than 29 points per game in his series. And that was this past Western Conference semis when he was putting up 25, 10, and 10. So the assists and the rebounds are still there. And I think you mentioned it's a ball dominant play that he does play with.
Yep.
But when you're as skilled as him, and at least, like, we joke about, bro, like my disdain for Jimmy Harden. At least Luka plays that way. And then end of the game, end of the half, end of the quarter, clutch moments, like he wants the ball. And like that's the one thing where I'll give him the credit. He takes the shot. Like, you want to see your best players take a shot, a good shot, or set up for a good play. And like, he has that ability.
Yep.
If they fall short of the Western Conference semis, then I think we start hearing that. Or if they get run off the floor in the Western Conference semis.
Yeah.
Like, if we see the Thunder pass them, if we see the Timberwolves pass them, and I'm saying pass them like handedly, easily, persuasively, where this Mavericks team, with the additions they made on defense, the experience they picked up for guys like Derek Lively, who exceeded expectations his rookie season. And again, with the Luka, like, how motivated are you going to be? What type of player will you be?
Yeah.
Because this is a guy you always get 65, 66 games minimum per season, normally get around 70. And in the playoffs, he's battled through his injuries. But yeah, exactly, to show up. And you know what, too? If he stops bitching, if he just stops every call, same thing with Tatum, which is like everything, crying on the floor. If he stops doing that, I think that helps him too. But to your point, it is. I mean, it's gotten them to the Western Conference Finals twice, his game. And just going through his series, these are all from his first playoff series when he was bounced in the first round of 2020. These are his lines.
Okay.
31, 10, and 9. Now 2021. 36, 8, and 10. 2022. 33, 10, and 7. 32, 9, and 6. And then their 2024 run. 39 and 9. 25, 10, and 10. 32, 10, and 8. 29, 9, and 5. That's when we saw those assist numbers drop off. But that was against an elite defensive team that could switch on everything and also gave them trouble. But like, those numbers are absurd.
Yeah. I mean, the numbers don't lie, but we also know that the defensive numbers aren't there. We see him standing straight up and down and not interested. And don't get me wrong, I gave him a lot of credit on Hold My Banner many of times for the effort that he gave throughout the playoffs this year on the defensive end of the floor. He was there. He was locked in. He was sitting down in the stands until he saw the Celtics. I don't know what went out the window when he saw the Celtics, but maybe you can say he was tired.
Jalen that he saw. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it was almost like he saw a ghost of Christmas past, and he was like, I got to go back to the way I was because I got to score the ball because Kyrie obviously didn't show up on that end. That's how I feel. So I'm nervous about like this Luka discourse of like, oh, he's impenetrable. And I think it's going to continue. Honestly, I think people are going to still give him slack because if this team does underperform to whatever anybody's expectations are, it's easy to scapegoat Kyrie. He was a scapegoat everywhere he's been, right? It's easy to scapegoat Klay. He was a scapegoat last year with the Warriors. You know what I'm saying? And if they don't reach the heights, we probably will get a lot of the same things, right? Kyrie not showing up when you think he should, right? Klay missing shots that you think he should make and, just being uninterested in, playing within an offense and shooting bad shots. You know what I'm saying? We'll probably see those similar things if they aren't successful. So I get it, but I think it's time. Last year was year 7 for Tatum, and you could not go on Twitter after a Celtics game without hearing something about Jason Tatum in a bad fashion.
Bro, after one of the best seasons we've ever seen, too.
Exactly. This is year 7 for Luka. This is year 7 for Luka. So it's time to put the pressure on him the way we put the pressure on all of the other superstars around the league.
I think that's a good point. And that being it, where we've seen him in this spotlight so many times. And we've seen different head coaches, different number twos. I mean, this is the best roster that he's played with since he's been into the league. And we see how him and Kyrie can play off each other. Again, 2 ball-dominant guys, though. Both that want to be slashers, attack the hoop. And Luka has no problem stepping back and shooting.
Yeah.
That's where it is of if he doesn't get to the finals. And then how is he carrying himself in the playoffs? Crying at everyone, yelling at his teammates, yelling at the refs, yelling at everyone but himself.
Right.
But then I also love the Luka that we saw of like chirping Wick Grossbeck sitting courtside, too. Like, he is about that life.
He is.
But he has to step up for sure.